I am here in Ladue at, what is it, Rise?
Rise Collaborative Workspace.
Yeah,
Yes.
what a great concept. Interviewing Sharon Balleau with Transitions for Senior Living, who owns the company with her husband, Jeff. So, Sharon, can you tell me a little bit about your company?
Yeah, so we are a privately owned, family owned. My husband and I started a little over 8 years ago with the premise to help families through a very difficult time.
Sure.
So what we do is we help them by meeting with the family members, meeting with their loved one, getting to know them really personally. And then what we do is kind of narrow down the choices to the best 3 to 5 communities that fit their financial, their care needs, their just cognitive ability, and then the biggest piece is that social fit. Where are they going to fit in?
Sure.
And then we go on tours. We follow them through the entire process, ask questions, get them connected with resources.
So you're doing a lot of hand holding is
Yes.
what you're doing. Yes.
Yeah, we are. And education. Education is
Sure.
one of the things that that's what they need. They need to be educated on what the
Mhm.
steps are and what the differences are between communities, because it's not cut and dry. It's not like cookie cutter. You can say you can walk into community A and it's going to be the same as community B. They're just so different in so many ways. So
Right.
it's knowing those little pieces. And over the 8 years, we've been able to really get into what each community is about and what their niche is, so we can really make that connection with families and with their loved ones. And our services are free to the families, so that makes it even an
Right.
easier transition for them.
Sure. So basically, you're just trying to find the right fit for each family. And I know a lot of families live out of town. I think you have a personal story as far as how you got into this area. Can you share that?
Yeah, so it was my mother-in-law and father-in-law lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Father-in-law had Parkinson's for a number of years. His wife retired, was going to stay at home, be the caregiver. One day he fell, hit his head, was knocked unconscious. That was the time we found out that she had been a very high functioning memory resident or patient. She literally didn't know what to do. She walked around his body for 8 hours and was just completely confused. So somebody did stop by. We got them both into rehab. They got their rehab. We thought everything was perfect until we got that phone call from the social worker saying, you have 72 hours to find a community, and they are not allowed to go home because Albuquerque's Adult Protective Services were involved.
What a challenge.
Yeah, to say the least. So we were here in St. Louis, had to drive the 1,000 miles down there, and then my husband and his brother put their name into a database, one of the national companies, and it seemed to be, as he would put it, a nightmare from then on. We were getting inundated with phone calls saying you should come here, saying you should go there, and some people were saying, well, you're not even appropriate, I don't know why you called us. And he's like, one, I didn't call you, but and so we looked for price, location, and could they take care of them. That's all we could figure out. And so we moved them. I always kind of laugh because, in St. Louis, there's very good delineations. You don't go north or south or over this highway or that highway.
Everybody's had their comfort zone.
Yeah. In Albuquerque, there must be that same imaginary lines, but and we put them on the wrong side of it. So they kept saying, we're not like these people. We're not like these people. They ended up moving themselves home after about 6 to 9 months. And then we had to do the whole in-home private duty because with the Parkinson's and her Alzheimer's, they couldn't live independently alone.
And there are 2 different levels of care from what I'm hearing.
Right.
Having been in the business.
Yeah. So it was a challenge, and we struggled with that private duty. So, that was one of our goals too, is to make sure we had a whole range of opportunities for families to pick from. So if they're able to stay at home, we're all for that. We'll connect them with that private duty company that we vetted from our own experiences, knowing what's important. And then the biggest part of that we say is what's your plan? Let's set up a plan. If we want to stay at home, awesome, that would be amazing. But there are times, like my mother-in-law and father-in-law, we had to look for another place because it just became apparent that they couldn't live at home.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 24-hour care, but they weren't getting out. They were still getting dehydrated and falling and all those things and symptoms that go along with it. Yeah. So we really want to say, okay, let's have a plan. Let's have your loved ones in on that plan. So what does that look like? What do they want?
So you do a lot of hand holding, it sounds like,
Yeah.
which in these type of emotional situations has got to be just a blessing.
It is, and with our knowledge of the industry, we can really, really make that such a small group of places that fit them personally. We always say there isn't one perfect community, but there's a perfect community for every one person. So,
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, Sharon, I know when people need your services, it's usually in a kind of crisis situation, or can be. What are things that you might share with people to tell them more about your services, or the most important things they may not know?
Yeah, so ours is completely free to families, so we don't charge families ever. So if mom's moving today, tomorrow, or next year, or may never move, that's okay. I always say I sleep well at night to know that the family has a plan, and that mom and dad are getting involved. But the other thing is to know, we started our business 8 years ago to be family owned so that we could make the decisions on who we refer to, what we can refer to. And so we actually refer to every community in the St. Louis area. So it doesn't matter our compensation. So we are compensated by the community, kind of like a finder's fee. If they move in, they pay us a referral or finder's fee. But we will go to communities that don't pay those, even because if it's a great fit, we want that person to be there. There's just some communities that just don't pay it, and it's okay. We're okay with that. So we want the right fit the first time, no matter our compensation, and that's really the key. And the other thing is, we work with a lot of families in the Ladue area, but that's not our only place. We go anywhere. Right. So maybe the senior lived in Ladue, but the family now lives in West County. Not a problem.
Right.
I mean, we go everywhere. So we go out even to St. Charles, to Lincoln County, Franklin County, Jefferson County. I mean, so we go a long way.
Okay.
Plus a little in that Metro East.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just about finding that perfect fit for that family. One of the things I would warn families of when they are trying to search on their own to begin with, because that's your first instinct.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to go online and figure out these places. Don't ever put your name or phone number in any online form, because unfortunately it can be a very deceptive process that you've thought you clicked on a local company, and it's not. They've actually captured photos that make it look like it's that community, and then you get into their database and you can't get out.
all kind of calls.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I always say, don't call them if you want a specific community. Find out if it's that actual community, or call a local service. Call somebody that really knows the ins and outs, and really that culture side of those communities. The other piece is we have changes and fluctuations in the care and the quality. Mm-hmm. So we follow that. We know which ones are struggling. Maybe they have a new executive director or a director of nursing. So we want families to know those things going in. So if they know going in, hey, there might be a little shift in duties and roles for people, but the community itself is still a great community. But having that in their pocket, they can advocate for their loved ones even more. So advocate for loved ones, be there for them, and then just make that fit for the social side of it, more importantly.
Well, how can people find out more? I mean, as far as information and to contact you, can you share that a little bit?
Yeah, so we have a website. It's transitionsforseniorliving.com. The other way is just call us. I do it's myself, my husband, and then we have 2 people that are actually working with us. So Carmen Worley, and then Tina Berry.
Okay.
So we're all in it together. We've all been in the industry, you know,
Right.
for a long
I
time.
can vouch for that.
Yeah. And so anybody can call. My phone number is 314-606-8531. Get it out there, because hey, call me. What I want to do is come by, sit down, talk, take that burden off, and set up a plan for later on. Because the worst thing to happen is for you to have a crisis mode, your parents not being involved in the decision making, you're trying to do it all on your own, and you feel like it's never the right one. So
Well, Sharon, thank you for sharing your story and your personal story as well.
yeah, thank you.